Hey everyone, welcome to Art Studio 320. My name is Melanie. I am so happy to be outside, have the garage door open. It's the first time for the season and I'm ready to go. This week's project is a mid-century modern small dresser, and it's quite spacious inside the drawers. So it's a small dresser. Maybe it's just a dresser that's a little more compact, but it has plenty of storage. You could put it in all sorts of places in your house. I'm excited to get started, so stick around. I use vinegar and water to clean my furniture before I get started, and I just make it myself. It's 1 part vinegar to 1 part water, and it's cheap. I decided to start with a 220 grit because I was worried about going through this veneer, but that may not have been the best choice for this piece. Well, this is new. It looked like this, and then I started to sand, and I'm getting all these little clumps, but it's weird because they're raised up, but when I sand this smooth area, they appear. So I'm not quite sure what the heck is going on, but you know, I'm a little leery. This veneer is very thin, but it's so bizarre. It's just clumps. Oh, this is going to be a problem if this is what it's going to be like the whole way, because what happens is it gets stuck on here and starts creating little scratches, little swirlies on the surface of the wood. Oh boy. Okay, well, we'll just kind of have to figure it out as we go, I guess. I'm using a chisel. Yeah, maybe that's what I'm going to have to do. Wow, this is going to be tedious. May need my carbide scraper, which I just tried a few minutes ago. Yeah, I guess that's what I'm going to use. Furniture never fails to surprise me, ever. I'm not crazy about doing this, but it may be the only way. It turned out to be the right way, but I could have stripped it too. But I was trying to avoid the mess and the waiting for it to dry and on and on. And this carbide scraper did work. One thing about using a carbide scraper that I didn't know, at least on this piece, there was way more sanding to do, not just smoothing it out. You can kind of see on this piece that there are some lighter areas and some darker areas. Whenever you're working with a veneer, you have to be aware that you can sand through it. One of the ways you can test to see if you've sanded everything off is to use mineral spirits. It will easily show you if you have an even finish. Now here you can see there's some blotchy areas, but my question was, is it the darker areas that need to be sanded off, or is it the lighter areas? We're going to find out more about that in just a minute. This is another example of the difference between the areas that are sanded and areas that aren't. You can see the lighter areas here and the darker areas. As I was scraping, I hit a piece of veneer that was loose. And this is the result. It was easy to fix. It was a nice clean cut. I must have caught it with my carbide scraper. I just grabbed my wood glue, put it in there, held it in place until it dried. and then I couldn't find it. Once the glue had dried underneath the veneer, I went back and sanded it down, and I truly could not find it after that. I need to do some research on mid-century modern finishes. This finish is pretty common from what I've seen in mid-century modern furniture, but it is not a stain and it's not really a paint, or if it is a stain, it's more of an opaque stain. Most of the stains that we use are semi-transparent, but perhaps there is a stain that is more opaque. I just need to do a little bit of research. I was very leery about using my orbital sander on this veneer, so I hand sanded a lot of this, and at this point I'm still not sure what areas I'm supposed to be sanding. Now the legs are solid, so I was using 120 easily, and it was taking the finish off no problem. This little tool is called a mouse, and some people call it a cat, so you tell me, I don't know. It's great for getting in the corners. It looks like an iron to me. I want to show you the difference between this wood that I scraped yesterday with my carbide scraper, and here's some of the finish left. I'm going to sand that off, and this is finished. Now this one, it may look like there's nothing left, but can you see the difference? This is kind of a creamy white, and this is not. So this is finished, and this still has a lot of sanding to do. Not a lot, but so I'm going to go to a 120 and just be very careful because I am working with the veneer, and I just want to make sure that I get down to this beautiful finish. And that's what it looks like. That's the difference. It's not a huge difference, but this will look kind of cloudy if you cover it. And the way I know that is because I put mineral spirits on the rest of the piece, kind of to see where I needed to sand some more and where I was finished. And I wasn't sure if this was, I needed to get rid of this to get to this, and now I know for sure. So I thought I'd share that with you. So now that I know, my goal is to get rid of all of those lighter areas, and here you see it. I decided to use 120 grit and just suck it up, and it worked. Now that I've gotten down to the raw wood, I'm going to use a tack cloth here, of course, to get all of the dust off, and then apply my natural stain, which doesn't have any pigment, no color. It just brings out the natural color. This corner has a chip. It had a chip when I got it. I put some wood filler on it, and now I'm challenged with how to get it to look like the rest of the piece. I have one area that went down past the veneer, and then the other was wood filler. So I tried a few different stains. It worked okay. It wasn't great. It wasn't what I wanted, but I'm not done trying. There were two small places that I wanted to add a little color. They were hard to sand, so I figured why not just paint it. I'm using the color Everett. It's kind of a dark green. It's real pretty. And it just adds a little bit of color to accentuate the rest of the piece. How's that for a sale? This top piece of tape is just to protect that area in case my brush goes wonky. I am not the neatest painter. I'm an artist, and we tend to be sloppy. At least me. I'm a messy painter, so I need to use lots of painter's tape. I've been mentioning this in almost all of my latest videos. Drawers have become kind of a signature part of my pieces. I really think that drawers are important to a piece of furniture, even though you can't see them right away. But how great is it to open a drawer and see that it's finished from the outside to the inside? I highly recommend that if you're finishing a piece of furniture, you do it from the outside in or the inside out. Don't forget the drawers. When you're dealing with old hardware and you want to use it again, the best thing to do is to plop it in 2 cups of vinegar and 2 cups of water, boil it for 20 minutes or so, and then use your steel wool to polish it up. Now this had paint on it and it wasn't coming off very well, so I put it back in the pot for a little bit longer. I'm using 000 steel wool, and I'm amazed every time at what a good job it does. The one on the left is finished. Look how great that looks. Because the back plate was silver and I needed to match both pieces, I decided to spray paint the whole thing gold. I took some sawdust from my orbital sander, and this sawdust is from this piece, so I know it'll match the color. And I mixed up some of the polyurethane, it's oil-based, with the sawdust, so it makes a little paste. And I'm kind of touching up the areas where I went through the veneer, which wasn't hard, especially on the trim. And I'm going to hopefully touch it up. I'm going to just put some on and then sand it off when it dries, or sand it down when it dries. But it's the same color, so it should work pretty well. That blended right in. This is a finishing pad and super important when you are using top coat. You want to use something like this between every coat that you put on. You have to let it dry, of course, and then you want to go back and sand with this. It's almost like sanding with a piece of leather. It buffs it up, and then you can put on a second coat. Now it's going to turn white a little bit when you sand it, like right here. You just go back with a tack cloth and buff it out, and it looks absolutely perfect, and it's nice and smooth. The last thing I do is the drawers to finish them. After I've sanded them earlier, then I go back and I vacuum them and wipe them down with a tack cloth. Then I use something like Big Mama's Butter to quench that thirsty wood, because old furniture always needs to be quenched, and you can see what a great job it does. You can use hemp oil or some kind of oil on the inside. Then you put top coat on the sides of the drawers, makes them nice and smooth, and then you put top coat on the top. You also want to put something on the slides or the glides for the drawers to make the drawers go in and out smoothly. You can use wax or Big Mama's Butter, something like that. I've been thinking a lot about all of the mid-century modern pieces I've refinished, including this one, and I noticed they have something in common. The finish. The finish that was on the piece when I got it was a very even colored finish. You couldn't really see the wood grain, and it was the same color throughout. There was no variation in color at all. I have run into a lot of those pieces, and actually I prefer this. I prefer the natural color of the wood, and there is no colored stain on this piece. It is all natural colored stain, which means it doesn't have any pigment in it at all. Now, I did add color here and down at the bottom, and the reason I did that is I started to sand this and I couldn't help hitting the top here, and this veneer is already thin, so I wanted to stop that. I thought it would look nice with some color anyway, and down here I decided since I'd put color up here, it might be nice to have it down there as well. I think overall it's a modern twist on a mid-century modern piece, and I really like it. I think I'm going to have trouble parting with it. Thank you for being here. Good luck on your next piece. and I will see you next time.
You can do it.
Hey, thanks for watching my video. You can find more videos just like this on my YouTube channel. And don't forget to subscribe.